If you are not currently behind the wheel of a car right now, I want you to try something for just a second. Just close your eyes.
Always a fun way to start.
Right. But seriously, just picture the absolute dark, the crushing depths of the ocean.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's intense.
It is. Now, imagine a sound echoing through that complete darkness, and not just like a random biological click or a splash.
Right.
We're talking about the oldest continuous song on Earth.
Right.
A song that has literally been playing unbroken for millions of years down in the deep.
It is just, I mean, it's a genuinely awe-inspiring image. When you stop and actually visualize the physical scale of that environment, it just forces a complete shift in how we perceive life on this planet.
It really does. And, well, that is the exact paradigm shift we're exploring in today's deep dive.
Which I am so excited about.
Same. So, we're unpacking a really fascinating source text today. It's a transcript called The Deepest Song.
Yeah, and it's unique because it captures this profoundly beautiful conversation between two AI voices, LUMI and Weibi.
Exactly. And they are analyzing the science, the culture, and really the existential weight of whales. So we're going to look at the data they compiled.
Because there's a lot of it.
There's a ton of it.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to show you that whales are not just these, massive marine animals swimming around.
No, not at all.
We were talking about a highly complex language, deep emotional lives, evolving cultures, and this is the crazy part, creatures that hold the key to the very air you and I are breathing right now.
Which is, I mean, a massive departure from how most of us usually encounter whale songs.
Oh, totally.
Hmm.
Right? Most people view whale songs as, background noise for a meditation app.
Yeah, or like what you hear when you walk into a day spa.
Exactly. It's treated as this soothing, ambient white noise. But as we dig into the research that LUMI and LoveUAV presented in this transcript, it becomes entirely clear that this is a structured, ancient language.
Right. And to understand the song, I think we first have to understand the sheer physics of the stage it's being performed on.
Yes, the stage.
Yeah.
Because that stage is vastly different from anything we experience up here on land.
It really is. The physics of how these animals communicate is just staggering. I mean, these songs are not just localized calls meant for a nearby pod.
Right, they aren't just chatting with their neighbors.
No, they travel across entire ocean basins.
And the example that really caught my attention in the source text was this theoretical scenario they laid out. They said a whale singing off the coast of Norway could theoretically be heard by another whale thousands of kilometers away.
Thousands.
Thousands. I mean, how is that physically possible? Sound dissipates, right? If I yell across a football field, you can barely hear me.
Well, it comes down to the fundamental differences in the medium itself. Water is about 800 times denser than air.
Okay, well, 800?
Yeah. And sound travels roughly 4.5 times faster in water. But it's not just about the density, it's about the actual architecture of the ocean.
It's the architecture.
Yeah, there's this specific layer in the ocean known as the SOFAR channel. That stands for the Sound Fixing and Ranging Channel.
Okay, so what exactly is happening in that SOFAR channel?
So it's a layer of water where the speed of sound is at its absolute minimum.
Wait, it's minimum. But you just said it travels faster in water.
Right, it does, but within the ocean, the speed changes. This happens because of the precise interplay between temperature and pressure.
Okay, track with me here.
So near the surface, the water is warm, right? So sound travels faster there.
That makes sense.
As you go deeper, the temperature drops, which actually slows the sound down.
Okay.
But if you go even deeper than that, the immense pressure of all that water starts to speed the sound back up again.
Oh, so there's this sort of sweet spot right in the middle.
Exactly, a sweet spot. And because sound waves naturally refract, or, they bend toward regions where they travel slower, the sound waves produced by whales in this sweet spot keep bending back into the center of the channel.
So they don't escape.
Right. They just bounce along this layer, trapped in a literal acoustic waveguide. It completely prevents the sound energy from dissipating outward into the vastness of the upper or lower ocean.
That is wild.
Yeah.
So they aren't just shouting into the void. They are essentially plugging their voices into like an underwater fiber optic cable.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. I mean, a low-frequency tone produced in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic can ripple out through this channel, carrying complex acoustic information across a distance that would take a human weeks to cross by ship.
Weeks.
Yeah, weeks.
So if we think about the ocean as this massive, invisible, acoustic web-like, a global, continuous network with zero lag and no drop connections, it really forces us to ask this major psychological question,
Oh, absolute right.
right? Because if you are a whale and you can hear your kind singing from across the planet, are you ever truly alone?
And the conclusion drawn by LEMI and WebUEE in our source material is a resounding no. They are never truly alone.
Which is just beautiful to think about.
It is, and it completely rewrites how we have to think about their sensory reality, you know? Human beings evolved to understand physical distance as isolation.
Oh, for sure. If a mountain range or an ocean separates you from your family, you are cut off.
Yeah.
You experience vulnerability.
Right. You experience loneliness.
Literally out of sight, out of mind, out of earshot, you are completely isolated.
Exactly. But for a cetacean, their acoustic horizon is so incredibly vast that their community is always with them.
Always.
Always. The psychological safety and the sense of belonging that must come from constantly being bathed in the voices of your species. I mean, it is a level of social cohesion that humans just cannot physically experience.
But, okay, if they have this perfect network,
Yeah.
what is the actual data being transmitted? But they aren't just ringing a static alarm bell across the ocean, right? The song actually changes.
It does. And this is where we move from the hardware of the ocean to the software of the whale's minds.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, because whale songs are not hardwired biological instincts. A humpback whale isn't just born with a single sequence of notes permanently burned into its DNA, playing on a loop for its entire life.
Right.
The songs evolve. They change over the seasons.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that evolution. How do researchers actually know the song is changing and it's not just, a whale making a mistake or improvising randomly?
Well, it's through decades of bioacoustics tracking. Researchers use massive arrays of hydrophones, those are underwater microphones, to record these populations year after year.
Okay.
And when they look at the spectrograms, which are basically visual representations of the audio frequencies, they can see distinct phrases and themes in the songs.
Like actual musical structure.
Yes, exactly. And what they observe is that a completely new phrase will emerge in one population, and then over the course of a few years, that exact new phrase will spread across the ocean to neighboring populations.
So it was a literal mechanism of transmission.
Yes, it is.
Which honestly reminds me of how human viral trends work.
Yeah.
But I want to be specific here, because it is not just like a catchy pop song on the radio, is it?
No, it's much deeper than that.
Right. It feels more like oral tradition. Like a new phrase starts in the Pacific, and then 3 years later, researchers are picking up that exact same frequency shift in the Indian Ocean because the whales have literally taught it to each other.
Precisely. And in scientific terms, when a community shares ideas, learns from one another, and passes that information across a population.
Just horizontal transmission, right?
Exactly, horizontal transmission. And then they pass it down to the next generation, which is vertical transmission.
Right.
When they do that, that is the very definition of culture.
Culture. I mean, just letting that word sink in when applying it to a non-human species, it implies a staggering amount of cognitive processing.
It really does.
It suggests they have a shared sense of aesthetics.
Oh.
They hear a new variation, they decide they like it better, and they collectively agree to update the song.
Yeah, it requires memory, it requires active learning, and it requires a deeply ingrained desire to participate in a shared communal experience.
They want to fit in.
Exactly. They are choosing to adopt these changes to stay in sync with the group.
Okay, I need to hit pause here and push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
Because whenever we start talking about a non-human animal having culture or a sense of self or deep emotional lives, my skeptical alarm bells go off.
Which is fair.
Aren't we just projecting our own human psychology onto a creature we don't fully understand? Like, we see them swimming together and we call it community. We see their songs change and we call it culture.
Right, the anthropomorphism argument.
Exactly. How do biologists actually separate genuine complex cognition from basic hardwired survival algorithms? Like, how do we know they're actually experiencing life?
That is exactly the right question to ask. And honestly, for a long time, the scientific community shared that exact skepticism. It is dangerous to anthropomorphize. But the empirical evidence we have now moves us past projection. LRMI and WAVE really focused on this in the transcript. Let's look at the actual neurological hardware running this software.
Okay, let's look at the brains.
Whales possess some of the largest, most structurally complex brains on the planet. And it is not just about raw size. It is about the specific architecture of their neocortex.
What specifically are we looking for in that architecture, though?
We look at things like von Economo neurons. They're also known as spindle neurons.
Spindle neurons. Huh?
Yeah. Now, in humans, these specific brain cells are heavily involved in social organization, empathy, speech, and intuition.
Wow.
And for a long time, we thought only humans and great apes had them. But it turns out certain cetaceans, like sperm whales, killer whales, and humpbacks, have massive concentrations of these exact neurons.
You're kidding.
No. And sometimes they're in areas of the brain that are far more developed than our own.
So the biological hardware for empathy and complex social processing is undeniably there.
It is structurally undeniably there. And when you combine that hardware with their behavioral data, the fact that they recognize specific individuals over decades, that they coordinate incredibly complex hunting strategies, and that they grieve,
Right, the grieving.
yeah, you arrive at the conclusion that they possess a profound sense of self.
A sense of self, meaning they have like an autobiography in their minds.
Exactly. They recognize their own existence as distinct from the environment. They know who they are, they remember their past experiences, and they understand their intricate relationships with others in their pod.
That is just incredible.
When two whales interact, they understand who that specific individual is and what their shared history is.
Well, if we follow that logic to its natural conclusion, it leads to a place that feels, honestly, a bit heartbreaking.
Yeah, it does.
Because if whales have lifelong bonds,
Yeah.
and they have this deep autobiographical sense of self, and they are constantly connected by this ocean-wide acoustic web,
Yeah,
what does it mean for their communities when they lose a member?
it's devastating.
Right. If a human loses a close friend, we experience profound grief. But if a whale's entire reality is built on this shared, continuous cultural song, does a single loss echo through the whole network? Do they experience, like, collective trauma?
The behavioral evidence points heavily toward yes. We have documented numerous instances of cetaceans displaying extended mourning behavior,
Like what?
like carrying deceased calves for days, or remaining by the side of a dying pod member, literally refusing to eat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When you combine their capacity for grief with their vast communication network, the loss of an individual is felt profoundly by the community.
Because they're all connected.
Exactly. To understand one's own existence means understanding one's relationships. Therefore, to lose a relationship is to lose a structural part of your own constructed world. When a voice goes silent in that global acoustic web, the absence must be absolutely deafening to them.
Which makes the history of our relationship with them so intensely tragic. We have to acknowledge what the source material brings up next, right? As a species, humans hunted these creatures to the very edge of extinction.
We did. And the transcript captures this chilling realization so well. We nearly silenced the oldest voices in the ocean.
It's hard to even wrap your head around.
The commercial whaling era wasn't just a loss of biological mass. It was the destruction of ancient cultures, the severing of lifelong bonds, and the literal silencing of an evolving song that had been passed down for millions of years.
Whole dialects, whole cultural lineages just wiped off the map.
Entirely wiped out.
But, you know, what I really appreciate about this deep dive is that we aren't just lingering in the tragedy. The data WOVE and LUMI pull up reveals a twist that completely changes how we view marine conservation.
It really does.
Because acknowledging their inner lives is one thing, but it turns out whales do a lot more than just sing. They keep the whole planet breathing.
This is where the emotional narrative converges perfectly with the stark ecological reality.
Yes.
The survival of Earth's biosphere is heavily dependent on a mechanism known as the whale pump. Whales literally fertilize the ocean.
Okay, this is the part we absolutely need to clarify for everyone listening. How exactly does a massive marine mammal keep the planet breathing? Because to understand this whale pump idea, we have to look at the architecture of the ocean again.
Right.
The ocean has a fundamental design flaw, right?
Who could call it a stratification flaw?
Right. All the sunlight is at the very top, in the photic zone. But all the heavy nutrients, the iron, the nitrogen, the dead organic matter gravity, just pulls all of that down into the dark abyss.
Exactly.
So the plants at the top have sunlight but no fertilizer, and the bottom of the ocean has all the fertilizer but absolute darkness.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And without a mechanism to bring those nutrients back up to the sunlight, the surface of the ocean would be a complete biological desert.
Enter the whales. They're essentially the biological elevators in this system.
That is exactly what they are. Whales dive deep, deep into the ocean to feed on krill and squid in those nutrient-rich, dark depths. Then they physically transport that biomass back up to the penthouse, so to speak, the sunlit surface zone, because they have to return there to breed.
Right, they're mammals.
Right. And when they are at the surface, they release massive fecal plumes.
They poop.
They poop. Huge amounts of it.
So they are literally dragging the fertilizer up to the sunlight and releasing it.
Yes. And those nutrient-dense plumes ignite explosive growth in phytoplankton.
And phytoplankton are.
They are microscopic, plant-like organisms that live in the upper layers of the ocean. They take that fertilizer, combine it with the sunlight, and photosynthesize. And here is the absolutely critical statistic from the data.
Okay, lay it on us.
That phytoplankton produces over half the oxygen we breathe on Earth.
Over half.
Over half. So every second breath you take, literally the oxygen entering your lungs as you listen to this right now, was partly gifted to you by the ocean.
That is just wow.
And it is made possible in large part by the vertical movement of whales.
I just love that visual. It is like they are the gardeners of the ocean.
Yes, exactly.
They are out there tilling the soil of the sea, cultivating this invisible global garden of plankton that ends up filling our lungs. I mean, that completely reframes the entire concept of saving the whales.
It absolutely removes it from the realm of mere sentimentality. As the analysis in our source text points out, protecting whales isn't about charity. It is about human survival. It is not just about feeling pity for a beautiful, intelligent creature. It is about maintaining the fundamental life support system of our entire planet.
Because every node matters.
Right. Every single whale matters because every single whale is a crucial, functioning gear in that ecological engine.
It is staggering to connect those dots. We started this deep dive thinking about whales as these distant, mysterious singers in the dark, and now we are realizing that our own physical survival is intimately tied to theirs.
Yeah.
The breath in our lungs is fundamentally connected to the song in the deep.
What is so compelling here is how perfectly everything we've discussed is intertwined. Their large brains allow for complex culture. Their culture and social bonds are maintained by the global acoustic network. Their physical presence in the ocean, sustained by that very network and culture, drives the vertical nutrient cycles. And those nutrient cycles produce the oxygen that sustains all terrestrial life, including us.
It is a perfect, fragile, beautiful loop.
It really is.
And that brings us to the profound way this source text concludes. The emotional and ecological threads come together so beautifully in this transcript. There's a specific phrase, LUMI, used to describe a whale song that I just cannot stop thinking about.
I know exactly the one you mean.
The AI suggests that a whale song is the ocean remembering itself, and that it is life calling out to life.
Those are incredibly powerful words. The ocean remembering itself implies that the whales are the active memory keepers of the sea.
Yes.
Their song is the conscious expression of the ocean's vitality. When a whale sings, it is empirical acoustic proof that the vast life support system of our planet is alive and functioning.
It is a cinematic call to action. The idea is that the next time you stand by the sea, you should look out at the water and remember that beneath the surface, an ancient song is still playing.
Still playing after millions of years.
Right. A language that has echoed for that long. All we have to do is listen and ensure it never goes silent.
Because to let it go silent wouldn't just be an emotional tragedy or the loss of a unique culture. It would be a catastrophic failure of our own ecological life support. We need the song to continue just as much as they do.
Absolutely. We have covered so much ground today. From the complex physics of the SOFAR channel, allowing voices to travel thousands of kilometers, to the mechanisms of horizontal cultural transmission, the neurological evidence for their deep sense of self, and their vital role as the vertical elevators keeping the ocean's garden alive.
It's been a journey.
It really has. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought to mull over on your own.
Okay, let's hear it.
So we talked extensively about how whales possess an evolving culture, and how their songs are shared, learned, and remembered over time. We know they aren't just making noise, they are transmitting information.
Right.
But if they are learning and passing down these complex vocalizations year after year, generation after generation, could their songs contain an actual oral history?
Oh, wow.
Could these incredible ancient minds be singing to each other about the physical changes in the ocean, the shifting currents, the melting ice, the history of their survival? Could they be recording an ancient, ongoing memory of the Earth that we just haven't figured out how to decode yet?
That is a fascinating thought.
Next time you hear that song, ask yourself what story they might be trying to tell us.